Hey everybody, Miss Tracy here, and today we're back on Ark Survival Evolved, checking out the server settings again. Now there's been some new ones added since my last video, so I'm going to go ahead and update you on those. I'm just going to cover them all again for a brand new video. So, I'm going to go as fast as possible because there's a lot to cover. I want to explain it really well, but I don't want to make you guys watch a huge long video, so let's get started right away. Now we've got the difficulty level, which here you want to set up as high as possible if you want high level dinos to spawn. Now these checkboxes are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to skip them and just explain the sliders instead. Now, for the first one here, dino damage, this is how much damage dinos deal. And this is all dinos, not just tame dinos. So if you increase it, you're going to get your butt kicked by other dinos too. So I don't even mess with it. Now, player damage is pretty much the same. The higher the number, the higher your damage. But if you put it up too high, you can accidentally kill your tames pretty easily. Like you just poke them once with your pike and then they're dead, and that sucks. So I don't mess with that one either. Now, structure damage. This is how much damage things like a spike wall will do. So if you want them to get more damage by bumping into a spike wall, you'll increase this. Again, I don't mess with this one personally. Player resistance. This is how much damage a player can take before dying. So if you put it lower, your player will be stronger and more resistant. If you put it higher, it'll be easier to kill your players. I don't really mess with this one. Sometimes I put it a little lower, but I wouldn't put it higher because I don't really see the point of that. But anyway. The dino resistance is pretty much the same, but it also goes for tamed and wild dinos. So we thought we'd be smart and put it down to 0 and have our dinos be able to fight the broodmother without getting killed, but we spent like an hour trying to kill the broodmother, and the broodmother wouldn't die because the resistance was low for that one too. So you might not want to mess with that one either. The structure resistance, we put this one all the way down to 0 because I hate when a Bronto comes in and swipes his tail and like breaks your whole base. So this means that no one can break the walls on your build. Now, the rafts still break, so don't get excited and think your raft's going to be saved by this. But this also is not good for PvP because you can't bust into people's walls, so that's up to you if you want to change that. The XP multiplier is pretty self-explanatory. You put it up if you want to have XP faster. I wouldn't crank it too high because then you go through your levels faster than you can even use the items that you unlock in your engrams, so I put it up a little bit though because I'm impatient. So here we have taming speed, and that's pretty self-explanatory. We increase ours quite a bit. If you want less time to tame a dino, you're going to want to increase it. This also makes your dino take less food or kibble or whatever it is that they take to tame. So, for instance, we had a giant squid, and those take black pearls, and usually it takes a lot of black pearls, but we ended up having it just take one set of 50 black pearls because our taming speed was cranked so high. Here's another one I don't mess with very much. This is the structure damage repair cooldown. There's like a cooldown for repairing broken things. We don't have our structure resistance up at all, so we never mess with this. But if you put it down to 0, there'll be no timer. Here we have the dino turret damage, and this is the amount of damage done to dinos by turrets. So if you want your turrets to be a little stronger, you can go ahead and increase that. We don't really mess with that one either. Here we have the dino harvesting damage, and that pretty much affects like how many hits it takes to harvest something. So the higher number, it'll take less hits to harvest. Harvest amount is pretty self-explanatory. The higher the amount, the more items you can get. You might want to be careful with increasing this too much though, because if you are riding around on your T-Rex and you eat something, you're going to get a ton of meat and hide, and you're going to become over-encumbered before you even know it. So we don't put ours up too high, just a little bit. Here we have the player character water drain. Now, if you put it lower, you will drink less often or need to drink less often, so your water will drain slower. So we lower ours, and it's the same for the food. We lower ours a little bit for the water and a little bit less, but some down for the food too. Just so it takes a little longer so you're not constantly having to eat. Here we have the dino character food drain. We don't mess with this one at all because it can affect your taming and how long it takes for the dino to eat when you tame. So I just wouldn't even mess with this one. Here we have the player character stamina drain. Now we have ours a little lower. Now that means you have a bit more stamina. So if it's lower, you'll get tired less often. And again, with the impatience, I don't like to have to sit there and wait for my character to get their stamina. So I like to be able to run. And we have ours lower. Now it's the same for the dinos. Now we have ours low for this one too, because especially with the bird update, hopefully by the time you're watching this video, they've changed that, but right now they've nerfed the birds, and if you want their stamina to actually be bearable, you're going to want to lower it some so that they get tired less often. Here we have the player character health recovery. If you just increase it, your health recovery will go faster. Same with the dinos, but this also goes for wild dinos too. So be careful. Here we have the player harvesting damage, and this is kind of like the dino harvesting damage where it's how many hits it takes for you to harvest. So if you increase it, it's going to go faster. So like instead of taking 3 swipes with your axe, it'll take 1 or 2, depending on how fast you crank it. So up here we have the rules. I don't really do PVE, so I'll try to explain these as best I can. Here we have the timer for when you want your game to automatically become PVE, if you do want your game to automatically become PVE instead of PvP. So like you could have it set, if you check this box, it'll set it on midnight according to your Xbox. And then at midnight, for however long you set here, it will be PVE during that period instead of PvP. So you can't like kill people's dinos or attack their buildings and stuff if they're not in your tribe. This allows wars during PvE. This makes it so you can cancel the war at any time. This is just, I don't know why you check this one, but this is just to disable the gamma changes. So if you don't want people to be able to like lower their gamma so it's not so dark all the time, you would check this. Here's pretty obvious, the allow cave building, whether you want people to build in your caves. Check this box if you do, don't check it if you don't. Here we have allow flyer carry PvE. So this means like if you're on your Argent and you want to be able to pick up an enemy player or someone who's not in your tribe, you check this box. The reason why you wouldn't want to check that box is you wouldn't want people to play PvE or play PvP on PvE by picking up people and like dropping them off a cliff or something. Here we have the disable dinos decay and the structure decay. So after a while of being gone, your structures and dinos will decay. They'll disappear. So this increases the amount of time. Oh, if you increase the number, you can increase the amount of time it takes for that to happen, or you can just disable it all together by checking these boxes. So I haven't actually tested the structure prevention volumes yet, but I assume it means like how much stuff you could put on a raft, for instance. But again, I haven't totally checked that one, so you might want to test that one on your own. Here we have prevent tribe and alliances. So this one's pretty easy, whether you want people to have alliances or not. Okay, the PvP zone structure damage pretty much explains if you want things that are near caves to take more damage, like structures are more easy to break near caves. Here we have the PvP respawn interval. So like if you're fighting and you die and you respawn at a bed nearby really quick and you're right back where you started from the fight, the more often you die, the longer it will take for you to respawn. And these numbers change that. So if you want to increase the number, it'll be longer respawn after longer deaths, or after multiple deaths. To be honest, I have no idea what this one means. I could not figure this out for the life of me. The rest of these are pretty self-explanatory, so we'll go up here to the world settings. So here's the day cycle speed. This explains how long dusk and dawn are. So that time where like sunset and sunrise are going on between day and night. So we don't mess with this very much because it's just kind of already a good speed. But if you wanted it to be like day and then all of a sudden, bam, it's night and there was no like warning whatsoever, you would set that down to 0. Here we have the daytime speed. Now, if you want the day to go faster and there's like less time for the day, you would increase the number. So if you want the day to take longer and have more day than night, you would decrease the number. Same with the nighttime speed. So if you want night to go faster, you want to increase the number. We actually usually increase this a bit because I hate night, especially with true dawns. Here we have the spoiling time. I don't mess with this because I tried experimenting with it and it just didn't seem to work. It's automatically set at 0. I just leave it at 0. Same with the item decomposition time. I don't mess with that one either because it doesn't seem to work properly. So here we have the no resource radius. Now, this means like when you're standing in an area, nothing will spawn right around you. So like if you harvest some trees and rocks and then you're standing there, they won't respawn until you walk away. Now this, if you lower the number, that makes things spawn nearer you. So if you lower the number, things will spawn right next to you. Here we have the structure radius. It's the same thing. If you have a lot of builds in one area, you'll notice that things won't respawn near it. This will make it so the area that doesn't respawn is smaller if you decrease the number. Crop growth speed here, we have, it's pretty Self-explanatory. If you increase the number, your crops will go faster. Same with the crop decay speed. You increase the number, they'll go fast. They'll go bad faster. Here we have the baby imprinting stat multiplier. Here's the new stuff. Now, first, before I even get started on these, let me explain that at the time that I'm making this video, these baby imprinting cuddle stats don't seem to work properly at all. So I'll try to explain how they're supposed to work. This one is if you increase the number, it's a higher percent of imprint done per imprint. So like if you cuddle your dino, it'll be like 45% imprint buff. But if you increase this number, it will increase the amount. So like instead of taking 3 cuddles to be 100%, it might take 1 or 2. Here we completely get rid of the dino imprint buff. I don't know why you'd want to do that because it's kind of cool. Cuddling them is great. Okay, so we have the poop and egg intervals. Now, you can break your game with these, so be careful. The lower the number, the more frequently things poop. So if you want things to poop a lot, like you're trying to make fertilizer or you're just weird, I don't know, you would decrease the number. Now, do not put this to 0 because they will poop so much they break the game. Same with the eggs. The lower, the more eggs they lay, but if you put it down too low, there'll be eggs all over the place and it will also break the game. Here we have the mating interval. Now, when you breed dinos, the females have like a mating cooldown. Now, if you lower this, it'll make the cooldown go faster. However, if you do it too fast and you keep breeding your dinos too many in a row, like you put the interval or the number really low, your babies that you produce from these dinos will have less and less stats. So I wouldn't mess with that at all. Just be patient and wait for your dino and take its time. Here we have the egg hatch speed. Now we usually increase this. I don't know why. Oh, thing to know about this one is these stats here have to be reset every time. I don't know why. That's why it's at 1 right now, because usually we have this one super manually set high to like 20 because I'm super impatient when it comes for eggs hatching. Now, the baby mature speed, you'll want to increase that one a little bit too if you want the babies to mature faster. However, you don't want to increase it too much because then you don't have time to cuddle. If you don't care about cuddling, you might as well just crank it because then they'll grow up pretty fast. Here we have the baby food consumption speed. And remember to reset this one if you do set it to 0 like I do. I set it to 0 and then you do not have to feed that baby at all. So when the baby pops out, you don't have to sit there filling its inventory with food. And then for some reason, when it becomes juvenile, it still needs to be fed off the trough, but it takes less food off the trough. So you want to have it like next to a food trough. But the food trough symbol will not show up until it's juvenile. So good luck with that. So here we have the harvest health, and this is kind of the same as the stuff we were talking about before. It's how many hits you need to harvest. So if you want to have like less hits on a tree for you to harvest the whole tree, you would decrease the number. We don't really mess with this because you don't want to like accidentally go around harvesting everything too fast. Here we have the resources respawn period. Now, things take a while to respawn, but if you lower the number, things will respawn a lot quicker. Just be careful you don't respawn it too fast because things will be like spawning around you and you might glitch into a rock. All right, the baby cuddle interval multipliers. Right now, they don't work, but this is how they're supposed to work, so maybe they're working by the time you're watching this video. So, the lower the number will decrease the amount of time needed between cuddles. So if you lower the number, you'll be able to cuddle your dino more often. Here's the baby cuddle multiplier. This is kind of weird to explain. This is how long after you don't cuddle. So like if you don't cuddle right away when it needs cuddling, it will eventually lower the imprint quality. So if you want that to take longer, you'll increase the number here. Again, that doesn't work right now, but that's how it's supposed to work. So here's the lose imprint quality speed, and that's kind of about the delay in cuddling as well. So the higher the number, the faster you will lose imprint bonus. This one you might as well check so that anybody can cuddle the baby. I think if you don't have it checked, then like you're stuck with one person cuddling that same baby every single time. And if they disappear, then you can't get the imprint bonus. So you might as well check it. So, all right, here we have the stats. Now, we don't mess with these a whole lot. However, since the bird nerf, we have upped our stamina for the birds. Oh, it's not showing right now. But usually we have our stamina upped a bit. And our speed, oops, oh, damn it. Speed upped a bit. I don't really mess with the different per level and affinity. I just mess with this one right here. So the engrams here, this is like what engrams you allow being made in your world. So if you want to disallow this engram, you'll uncheck it. but I'm not going to mess with that either. Okay, here we have max experience points for dinos and players. I don't mess with that, but if you wanted to set it so like players could only be level 50, you'd put it at that, or dinos could only be like up to 120, you put it at that. So here we have allow custom recipes. We just kind of leave that one checked. Nobody in our group really actually makes their own recipes, but this is for if you wanted to make recipes using notes. The higher you increase this number here, the more effective it'll be. So if it's like something that decreases how often you need to eat, it'll decrease it more if you increase this number. I hope that's easy for you to understand. This is whether or not your crafting speed actually is a factor in how good the recipe is. So we don't touch that one either. So I don't really get the next three here. I assume that this bottom one here, the engram, is kind of what's in that new tab because this was there before that tab was there. So the engram tab up there should do what this does. I don't really know what these other two are right here. I apologize. This is just like the other stats. If you want your players to have more health, more stamina, whatever, like sometimes we increase the stamina a little bit here. We also usually increase the temperature fortitude because it's just ridiculous how fast you die from freezing to death. So this will help you a little bit, but then you still have to increase your temperature fortitude when you're like getting higher level. So here's pretty self-explanatory. If you want tribes that only have 5 people, put 5 down. This is to show like how many hit points things take. I just ignore that because it's just too much, so I don't check it. XP multipliers. This is if you wanted to specifically set individual XP multipliers. I don't really know what these raid dino feeding things are, so if you do know what they are, please post it somewhere in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Otherwise, that's all I got for you today. I hope I helped you out. If I did, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It only takes a moment. Otherwise, enjoy and take care, and we'll see you guys next time.